Now, this is something about your work, editing. Like when you're sitting on the editing table and talking about protecting that emotional quotient of that scene. So, what is it that you're looking at, and what is it that you're trying to keep in the scene and chop it off?
No, see, every time when I watch a particular scene, I look at it and what the scene is trying to convey across to the audience. Suppose it's about, at the end of the day, every scene has one line or a single sentence of what it is trying to convey. As long as we reach that goal enough, right, it doesn't need to be any lengthier than that.
Okay.
So that's the first thing that I look at, and I also look at the performance of the artist. You know, after all, they would have worked so hard to deliver something there, and me as an editor, if I'm going to miss that and just chop it off and keep it to what it is supposed to convey, then it won't work scene wise. So these are two things that I mainly look forward to. I also look at it on the bigger picture once after we start cutting the scenes and when we start assembling the whole timeline itself. So I see whether the scene will fit into the story or the narrative, or if you could actually take that scene out by doing, even sometimes even you could just add a couple of words in dubbing and just take the entire scene out. A lot of instances that has happened. So.
Right. What about Kabali? Like, was that one of the biggest challenges? Because
no,
there are such big performers, right?
Yes,
Rajinikanth,
yes,
Radhika Apte and Sampath, right? Or
Kabali, the lot, see, after the first schedule was done, we went through all the scenes and decided, okay, maybe we could dramatize this a little bit more, or maybe we need to shoot a little bit more about the gangsters themselves. So we had a lot of back and forth for that as well. It was improvised, a lot was improvised. It's a new world for all of us, going from Chennai to Malaysia and figuring out what the dons were up to, how the gangsters behave. So everything's pretty much new. So we had to go there, learn new things from the people who have been gangsters or who have been part of gangs themselves. So after talking to them, a lot more ideas come into you and see how you can incorporate that into your script. So it becomes realistic. You don't feel as if it was, how do I put it? It was cinematized.
Right, right. Now, off the topic, I'm curious to know, are you a very emotional person? Are you very sensitive as a person? Would you describe yourself like that?
Not really,
Not?
no.
Okay. So, because as an editor, you're watching a scene some 1,000 times, trying to make a very logical decision whether they should be there or not. So, if you're not really, obviously after a few reruns, you will lose interest in that scene. So, how do you still get yourself on that table and say, no, this is what we are looking at?
No, that's a very tough job being an editor actually. If you're going to get emotionally attached to your content, right. At the end of the day, you will not be able to get into a position to get it out of your system or get it out of your film itself if it is not required. I think most editors have this inborn ability not to get attached. Because most directors have that ability to get attached because
right.
they would have gone there for a particular shot, they would have spent 5 hours to shoot it, they would have gone through so much trouble to get it right, and eventually when it doesn't fit into the narrative, when you want to chop it off, they feel all these things come into their head. That player part, they'll probably say, I had to struggle so hard to get this particular shot and you're just chopping it off like that. But that's the thing with editors, you see, they don't get attached so that they're supposed to do the job right.
How do you resolve that difference of opinion? Let's say a director.
Usually, see, it comes to a point where when it is not, we discuss, and I convey across my point of view of why it needs to be there or why it doesn't need to be in the film itself. And director has their own take or view about it. We leave it until the dubbing phase.
Okay.
So most directors say, sorry, let's finish it. Let's finish the dub and then we decide. Until the dubbing, it goes there. And once in dubbing, you get a lot of people coming and watching it. The directors watching it again and again.
Right.
Then they start thinking. If you plant that idea across in their head, they'll start thinking from that angle itself. So a lot of directors have come back and said, okay, let's take it out after dubbing.
Right. There are two ways, right? Now you either prefer having the director in the edit suite to take that final call, or you do the final version and then show it to the director and he makes his suggestions. So what is your game plan? Like,
No, for me, I'm easy. For me, I'm easy. I actually tune myself to how the director works.
Okay.
So if the director wants me to cut and give him a different version of than what he has thought about, I work that way. If he wants to sit down, for an example, Vasanavalan sir, whom I worked with, he prefers to sit down with me while I edit.
For Kavya Talaivan.
For Kavya Talaivan,
Okay.
yes. On the other opposite direction, if you look at Venkat Prabhu, he doesn't come to the edits at all.
Okay.
He says, "You finish it. I'll come back and watch it once you are done with it." That's all. But generally, if you ask me personally, what my personal opinion would be, I would say I want to get inputs from the director on what he wants in this particular scene or on the particular episode that we are working on, and then I'd say, let me try and get you a new version, because most probably I would look at it in a different perspective than how they shot it. So that might give you a different alternative for them to work on.
Right.
Since you met him, we all wanted to take pictures with him, and everyone was like, how do we ask him?
Right.
He was sweet enough to, I think Santosh's wife asked for a picture, and then we all lined up. So he got there. It took us, for me, it took me like close to, I was like shivering for the next 2 hours. You don't expect that.